Now, all universities in Ghana have closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. No in-person classes, at least for now, and graduation pushed forward for those who are due to graduate, at least in May. Universities are trying to make decisions in a fluid and unprecedented environment, obviously. So how have students adjusted to online teaching and learning? Let's meet some student leaders from the University of Ghana, Legon, the University of Cape Coast, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the Ghana Institute of Journalism, University of Professional Studies, and from GIMPA, the Law Students Association. We've got some gentlemen joining us. Let's meet them and say hello. Isaac J. Hyde is the NUC's president. He also joins us via Zoom. Isaac Hajimani is SRC president, University of Ghana. Joseph Agbazuka is SRC president, GIJ. Joseph, can you just turn over your phone so we can see you properly on the screen? Also joining us is Cornelius Boateng. He's the Law Student Association president of GIMPA. We're going to have an interaction and check how it is going with the online. We know initially some of them had great concerns. Now, if you're a student and you're watching, a student of any tertiary institution in Ghana, you can also join us with comments on WhatsApp. Join us via WhatsApp. We'll activate the phone lines as well, so you can also join us. But for now, your student leaders are on with us. So let me say good morning to you, gentlemen, again. If you can hear me, kindly respond. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning.
Okay, great. Good to see you. So let's start with the University of Ghana, Legon. First of all, explain to us how this whole learning online is going with you students at the University of Ghana.
Okay. Once again, a very good morning to cherished viewers and listeners as well. From University of Ghana, African University, of course, we, prior to this time, the university ran a trial test of 2 weeks, which of course ended about 2 weeks ago. And now the mainstream, that is e-learning, has been rolled out. And the directives were released by the university before the commencement of the mainstream e-learning. Within the provisions made so for instance, 50 to 70% of assessment would serve as continuous assessment. So that is, it will be done through quizzes, tests, and assignments. But there was an advisory given that predominantly it should be assignments that must be given to students to constitute the 70%, 50 to 70% of the total grade. And then mind you, that prior to COVID-19, some departments had also, written some tests. So that is why room is given, so that if there is such a situation, then of course it adds up to the total of 70% of continuous assessment. As well, for the main exams, it is a take-home exams, which constitutes about 30% of the total score. So this then means that students would have a continuous assessment of 70 with a take-home examination of 30. Now, as an SRC, our focal point was with respect to people who are in the minority, that is, people who cannot duly partake in the e-learning. So we also initiated talks with management that, of course, for us to, holistically embrace the whole idea of e-learning, there needs to be a provision for people who will be disadvantaged. And so when the rollout was made, of course, there's been a provision for people who might not be able to partake in e-learning, be it as a result of network connectivity, hardware issues, that is, those who do not have access to laptops and even mobile phones. So in that regard, a 3-week learning, intensive learning has been initiated within the university community, where when COVID-19 is over and then, the university resumes a 3-week period will be allocated for people who couldn't partake in the e-learning for continuous learning. Now, this would comprise of an intensive learning, which would be away from the normal learning we know within the class.
Okay.
After which, students will be subjected to a week of revision, after which they would also, write their exams.
Okay.
Subsequently, there is also another provision which, of course, students can also choose from. Students have a 3-year period to actually write the exams that they're able to do as a result of this COVID-19. If you are a student and you are not in the e-learning and as well, you're not able to also, partake in the first, in a 2 weeks intensive learning, then of course, there is also another chance for you to take up the courses within a period of 3 years. So let's say you are in level 200 and then a second semester of level 200, and then you are not able to partake in either the e-learning on a 3 weeks intensive period of learning, then of course, you can choose to take it let's say if you have 5 courses, you can take 2 in level 300 and another 2 in level 400. You get it? So
Isaac, that sounds very extensive. I'll come to you for a reaction in terms of what students make of it. But let's also touch base and check out what's happening on the other campuses as well. So let's hear from Cornelius. Cornelius, you're president of the Law Student Association, the GIMPA Law Faculty. What can you also share with us in terms of how the e-learning is going?
Okay. First of all, let me say a good morning to your viewers. So far, we considered the whole online learning to be a progressive step, considering the times we are in. We had a few challenges, it ranges from data, ranges to the fact that not all students live in areas where you have good internet connectivity. We also had issues concerning power crisis and how to make up for students who would be affected by issues like that. Consideration also had to be given to persons who were not IT savvy. And then also the fact that students do not own some of these devices, which could take applications such as Zoom. And then in our school, we have the LMS system. I don't know what is being used in other schools. We also had issues like that. So not all students have devices where you can use the Zoom and then also this LMS. Okay. Generally, the acceptance was not that bad. We don't know, we don't have a fair idea what is going to happen. And so the best thing for us to do now was to go online. Of course, it will come with certain challenges, but then we are managing one way or the other. We are managing. So I think generally it's been a good system.
But Cornelius, just hang in there for me. When you listen to Isaac from the University of Ghana, they seem to have a very comprehensive, it sounded like all areas have been covered. Do you have a structure like that at GIMPA?
It's something we had to call for. But for now, I think that what management has provided is that if for whatever reason you are unable to join in with the online learning, you have the option of share. We think that is a bit too harsh, but we are still in talks with them. Okay,
so yours is still work in progress. Let's move to Joseph. Joseph is the SRC president of the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Joseph, tell us about the plans in your institution in terms of the online learning. How is it going?
Okay, let me say a very good morning to all your listeners. The thing is that when the whole pandemic broke out, management came up with a directive that all lectures should be migrated to online platforms. But as a matter of fact, with GIJ, we don't have any online system of learning. Until this pandemic broke out, there was nothing like e-learning or online studies at GIJ. What most lecturers or classes would do would be having conversations on WhatsApp, that's all. But when it broke out, lecturers had to devise their own means of conducting their lectures. So some would use Zoom cloud meetings, others would use Telegram, others would still maintain the WhatsApp for discussions, and others would also use Google Classroom. So there wasn't any a kind of comprehensive system that is just peculiar to all lecturers, but each lecturer would have to choose what was favorable for him or her. So that's basically what has been happening over the past 4 to 5 weeks since the pandemic broke out.
Okay, but you have a clear picture in terms of how you're progressing.
Oh yeah. Currently, you know, when the whole issue started, there were concerns from students, issues that had to do with data. Some students had also left the various places where there was very poor network in such areas. There were some students who also complained of not having devices to be able to join such online studies. So all these issues came up. We tried getting management to get them addressed, and management is trying to put up a website that would be zero. How do you call it? That will be accessed at a zero cost. So
okay.
We still don't have a unique system. It is still being worked on, but it is just these platforms that are being used per the discretion of lecturers.
Okay, great. I'll come back to you a bit later on so you can tell me about the structure for the exams, because I know something has been put out and the reaction, whether students are comfortable with that or not. We're billed to also be joined in this conversation by the SRC president of the University of Cape Coast and the UPSA. But let's speak to the NUCS president, because he's also joining us via Zoom on this conversation. Mr. President, you represent the entire students' groupings in the country. So collectively, what has come to your table as NUCS president in terms of teaching and learning online?
Good morning, Mamavi, and your cherished listeners. Just as my presidents have iterated, these are some of the concerns, issues about accessibility to the network, issues about school fees. As you're aware, we have over 34,000 students who are beneficiaries of the student loans who are yet to be paid by government, and for which reason they have not been able to have access, because institutions require you to pay your fees before you can access some of these e-learning platforms. A bit not all institutions. Then again, issues about data. The difficulty about this LMS is that, yes, we know some schools have done some interventions of negotiating with the telcos to zero-rate their platforms. But majority of the private universities do not have learning management systems on their campuses. And for that matter, they resort to third parties like the Google Classroom and the Zoom platform, which is highly data consuming. And we have a situation where we have a case of double jeopardy, where students are being asked to pay school fees and at the same time buy data for their classroom. Now, school fees has two components. We have the residential user facility fee and academic user facility fee. At this stage, even on the academic user facility fee, the components will be the use of the lights, the use of the classroom materials, and of course, lectures. Now, we are not going to the classroom, and so it's a bit more of an extra challenge when you're asking students to pay school fees and at the same time go and buy data. And so when you put all these things together, and of course, the issue of writing final exams online, knowing the network challenges we have in the country, it is not specific to the hinterlands, but even in Accra here, and so in some, places which are very well developed, you still have network challenges. And so if you ask students to go and write final exams online, it's a major problem. And this is what our engagements with governments and the relevant stakeholders like the National Commission for Tertiary Education, the National Accreditation Board, the Vice Chancellor of Ghana, and the ministry has been. And so far, so good. I think that there's some developments. Maybe I should go on and you ask me the question.
We will come to, and then we will also, I need you, if you're watching us, to also get in touch with me via WhatsApp. We're going to put the number on the screen. If you're a student in any of the institutions, send me a WhatsApp. Let's get your views in terms of how you're making progress with what has been outlined. Let's come to you. Isaac, there's a clear picture in terms of the upcoming exams at the University of Ghana. So tell us particularly about the exams, the nature, as in how it's going to take, and then also tell us about those who are due to graduate. What is the plan? Do I still have Isaac? Because Isaac seemed to be disconnected. So let me come to you, Joseph. Because
if you could come again.
Isaac, is that you? Okay, yeah, that's you, Isaac. Isaac, I wanted you to take us through the plan for the upcoming exams, because you say that for assessments, 50 to 70% will be turned into assignments, not the regular quizzes, what had been structured. So this is assignments for the 50 to 70% in terms of the assessment. But in terms of the exam itself, what's the nature of it?
Okay, so the exams will take a form where questions are given to students. Just as I said, it's a take-home exam. So of course, questions are given to students. Students have the opportunity to, do their own research and provide the appropriate answers to these questions. And then of course, a reasonable timeline is given within which acceptance of such take-home exams.
Isaac, do you know the reasonable time? Do you know what constitutes the reasonable time?
Yeah, with issues of that, they are yet to roll out the examination timetable.
Okay.
Because all these things happened very quickly. They've issued the generic timetable for the rest of the academic year. But as to in terms of specifics like exam, they are still working on the timetable. But of course, we know that the exam is taking place in a period of a month.
Okay. All right. So at least you know the format?
Yeah. Pardon?
No, I said at least you know the format. So let me come to reaction in terms of what are students saying about it?
Well, you wouldn't have, what's it called, a generic response towards a particular direction. In as much as some people might, receive this with open arms, we have a section who are still, skeptical about the whole system, citing instances of, their anxiety as to how the questions would even be like, how these lecturers would tend to, power these things up to make it seem like they want the students to outstretch their boundaries. You get it? So these are some of the concerns that students are raising. But of course, as an SRC, it is our due responsibility to look at opinion from all, across board within the student population, and then, move ahead with what is best for the entirety of students.
Okay. Joseph from GIJ, you have a unique story because you don't have an online system. So you're doing largely the emails, the assignments, but what's the format of the exam?
Okay, so somewhere on the 14th of this month, management came out with a document pertaining to how the exams will be conducted at the end of the semester. And management indicated three modalities of the exams. The first is for a lecturer to decide to probably give a topic on which students will be required to produce a term paper on. And this could take a week or a week and a couple of days or even 5 days for the student to submit. The second modality has to do with a lecturer giving 4 or 5 questions, essay type questions, and then a student will be given 24 hours to answer 2 of those questions.
24 hours, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 24 hours. And then the third one has to do with multiple choice questions. So a student has to answer 60 multiple choice questions within 1 hour, 30 minutes, and that's gonna strictly be online. So with that, the questions will be available between 12 hours. So let's say 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., the questions are available on the school's portal. You would have to log in to access. And once you start answering, you have 1 hour, 30 minutes. So that is where we have a bit of a challenge, because if it happens that in the course of answering, you develop network challenges or network issues, then your time keeps running, and when your time runs out, you can't continue answering. So that is where we have an issue. So these are the 3 modalities of the exams. And when management came up with this directive, the SRC wrote a petition.
Okay, so Joseph, experiencing what you're likely to, if you were to be answering that objectives questioning, 60 questions in an hour, 30 minutes, you could freeze and your time would be running out. But let's move from Joseph. We'll come back to Joseph when he's a lot more stable. Let's come to you, Cornelius. You've had the other institutions in terms of what is ahead with the exams. Do you know at Gempa Law at least?
Yes, for us, management released a communique that was just yesterday. And then they did indicate to us also that the format for the exam would include multiple choice. There'll be questions where you have to give short answers, and also there'll be essays. But they also mentioned that you'll have take-home exams. For the timelines given to that, it has not been specified yet. So to figure out what the timeline will be, and then we are just hoping that it would factor in some of these concerns that we have raised concerning the internet connectivity, power outages, and then the fact that not all students are IT compliant or IT set.
Okay.
So these things would have to, yeah.
Great. Joseph, let me finish off from where we started. I was asking feedback from students. Which of these modalities are they happy? Are they most happy about? What is most comfortable? Let me not use happy, but what's comfortable in terms of network?
Okay, so when management came out with a communique on the exams, actually students protested. And as a matter of fact, for me and the SRC, we felt students protested at the initial stage because a lot of them hadn't really read the directive. So they were not happy with the whole idea of having exams online, because even with the e-learning itself, there are issues. Just like I'm having now, we could be having a Zoom meeting, and then my network goes on and off just like that. So students were not happy entirely with it. But I think that further on, when we tried explaining things, with the first two, students seem to appreciate. That is having a 10-paper, a number of days to work on, or having your essay type questions and having 24 hours to work on it. But with the objectives, that is where we have issues.
Okay.
Because if I'm answering and then my network goes off, it means that I'm out of the system if my time runs out, and that's it. So it's a bit of a challenge. And looking at the final year students too, the same communique indicated that our research, which is our final year project work that we're supposed to do, instead of having a full research, you would rather produce a 10-paper on your topic. And that would mean that you wouldn't have to go out for data collection, but you would have to review related literature pertaining to your topic to answer your research questions. That is in obtaining your research objectives. And that at the initial stage, a number of students had issues with, because some students had bypassed the process, the stage of data collection. So they felt like they were going to squash the entire work and then start all over again. So we still went back to management to get these issues addressed, and there is that room for persons who have bypassed the stage of data collection to proceed with their work. And all those who haven't gotten to that stage yet can convert their work into a 10-paper, because the social distancing and the whole lockdown thing at the time, one couldn't go out to collect data. So that is the situation with both the exams and the research for final year student level 400 and a capstone project for the diploma students.
Okay, let me come to you, Jay. From where you sit, from all the things that you've heard, let's talk about practically what you've done as NUCs to try and get these issues resolved. So first is the issue of online connectivity and how you cannot heavily rely on it for any form of exam in real time. So if you're given an hour, 30 minutes to answer 60 objectives questions and the clock starts ticking once you log in, how do you resolve that? So practically, what have you raised with the institutions and what's the way forward?
Right. Thank you, Mama. So the concerns are genuine, they are real, and they are very rampant, I must say. You also need to look at the data once again. 1.2 million Ghanaians do not have access to television in their homes. It's a measurement of poverty situation in the country. And we're talking about homes, not individuals, because compound houses could have over 5 people in there, and there are students in almost every home in this country. We're talking about 22% of Ghanaians not also having access to electricity. And it tells you the sort of situation we find ourselves in. The cost of data and all other things has raised. Now, the first thing that we had to do was a meeting that involved the National Council for Tertiary Education, the Ministry of Education, and the Minister of Tertiary Education. Then again, we also had the representatives of the various blocks of NUCs, where we discussed some of these things, having presented a petition to the ministry. And in the petition, we raised some of these topical issues that raised. The understanding was that government was supposed to engage the telcos to come back to us for us to know the way forward. Beyond the zero rate, we are asking for more, especially for institutions who do not have, data in their, especially for institutions who do not have the e-learning platform, the Zoom platform on their campuses. That aside, we have also gone beyond to also meet the president to also put some of these concerns before him. As of yesterday, my understanding was that by Friday, I believe that the student loan issue should be solved. The issues about the network, I believe that there's more engagement. We are expecting answers for that particular issue tomorrow. But I must also take this opportunity to commend the University of Professional Studies, the University of Ghana, with the room that they have given. And I'm saying this on record, using your platform, that moving into next week, we are also going to take issues with some of the institutions. I think some of the institutions are being very, very unreasonable. Much as we take some of these pressures to government, it's also up to institutions to also look realistically at the situation and come up with ways by which they can make things flexible for their students. The average university student in final year should have been through the school for over seven semesters. Now, for these 7 semesters, we use one means of assessment, which is going to sit in the classroom for the final exams. So if the final exams for the final year students, we use an alternative means like assessments and other take-home exams and other forms like term paper and other things to assess the student, I don't think that it changes anything. And in some of these instances, the reason why we have to move beyond the ministry to even the institutions is that in some of this engagement, you realize that the ministry agrees with us. When you come to Vice Chancellor's Ghana, and there's this cloud of autonomy, you know what, you cannot come and tell us what to do. Some of the institutions must also be held accountable. Because if other institutions have done some of these things with the understanding or belief that it is in the interest of their students, having recognized the challenges that genuinely students face, I think that is also just reasonable for others to follow suit.
So, Jay, hang in there, Jay. What in particular is the University of Ghana and the University of Professional Studies doing that you think is a good thing that should be replicated across?
Okay. So take GIJ, for instance. The president has stated the challenge of network issues and accessibility to the platform. It means that if you rely solely on the e-learning platform to write your final exams, you risk cutting a number of students off. A number of students will have to pay a price for no fault of theirs. And so University of Ghana starts with a module that says, you know what, we're not going to rely solely on the e-learning platform for the final exams. A portion of it is going to be a take-home. A portion of it is going to be a bit of an assessment. And so what it means is that you are not relying solely on the system. As a matter of fact, moving forward, some have even recommended that during the long back period, they are going to give students 2 weeks crash course for them to come on campus, for them to come and prepare and write the exam. Those who cannot catch up on the e-learning platform, there's an element of flexibility. But I cannot say same for my own institutions game back. I cannot say same for some institutions I would not want to talk about. But what I'm saying is that some institutions, there is a need to give flexibility. There is a need to give students a chance to not rely solely on the platform. And that is what UPSA and Legon have done.
Okay, let me invite you all watching to also join us. 030221169102. Yes, somebody raising an issue there. Let's hear you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to cut in a bit. So with the issue of those who cannot participate, we wrote a petition to management that management should consider indicating a clear-cut mode of assessing such students. So management responded that for persons who can genuinely not partake, then they should make their details available ahead of time that they cannot partake in the online exams or the whole e-learning process. So that after the COVID-19 pandemic is over, such persons will be given the chance to write to be assessed. Okay. So that's the current situation pertaining to that.
So that should be good news. That's similar to what the University of Ghana is doing. So whilst I invite people to join us via phone, let me ask you, Isaac, from the University of Ghana, Legon, generally with regards, so you see that, do you get the sense that you have a more flexible plan compared to some other institutions?
Yeah, of course. You know, and then for us, right from the onset, in as much as there were certain decisions that were taken without us, we took it upon ourselves to engage with management more. No matter how the relationship was, we took it as a step to engage with them. So first, a directive came, which caused an uproar among the student populace. We didn't also follow suit. We wrote a petition to management citing the various challenges that we are preempting. And then in citing all those things, we realized that after the final rollout was made, we had another crunch meeting, which we made 30 recommendations as well. So all those things were factored within. For instance, when you look at University of Ghana, in as much as all learning sites have been 0 rated, each and every student is getting 5 gigabytes of data every month to aid in the e-learning. In as much as it's also not sufficient, we as an SRC is even pushing for more data, an additional 10 gigabytes to help students. And then we've written letters to management, and then from our end, we are trying to work things out with the telcos to at least also provide something from the coffers of the SRC to help our students.
Okay.
So these are some of the things that we've been able to even do in our own capacity. Even though it might seem to be good on the outside, there are still some challenges within, which we are fighting so much to actually work it out.
Okay.
For instance, some students have received the data, but others are also finding it difficult to receive the data that has been promised them. That is the 5 gigabytes of data each month. So these are the people that we are still also fighting. But of course, I share in the plights of other institutions who are, also facing quite difficult times. And in that regard, I think the University of Ghana model could also be a point of reference to aid them in how they negotiate with their various management.
All right, absolutely, Isaac. Thank you. Let's go to the phone lines. Atta is with the University of Education, Winneba. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes. Let's hear you, please. You're on air.
Please, my problem is about the elements, UEW, our elements. It's very slow for us to use it to write exams.
When you say your elements, kindly explain.
Learning management system.
Okay.
It's very slow for us. Even when you are uploading an assignment, it's very slow for you to upload it. So we are pleading on the government to help us cancel the
Okay, so hang on. Let's start with your institution before we go to governments. Are they aware of the challenges that you're facing with the online platform?
Yes, they are aware. Every day, sometimes we want to go to the LMS, that's the learning management system, but you go there and they will be saying it's under maintenance.
Okay.
After that, you go there.
So what's been the response? What's been the response from the institutions? From management of the institution.
We haven't heard anything from them.
Okay. All right.
They will say it's under maintenance, so we should take time for it. But so we are very suffering right now.
Okay, we'll try and do a follow-up on that. So thank you for bringing that. Isaac is a postgraduate student at the KNUST. We're built to have the SRC president of KNUST, but I'm not sure why he hasn't joined us yet. But Isaac, good morning. Let's hear you.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Mama V here. Actually, I wanted to direct a question to the NUCS president.
To the NUCS president, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. In fact, you can follow up this with the minister to also find out. I wanted to know what they are doing about postgraduate students who are due for defense. Because the narrative seems to have not considered that at all. Are there any plans to do the defense for them by online? Because some of my recent group members in Germany, for instance, are using Zoom and the rest to do their defense. And some of us have submitted our thesis and we're supposed to do our defense as soon as possible, but nothing or nothing from the various universities, especially my university, trying to address this issue. So I hope.
So Isaac, don't hang up. Isaac, don't hang up. My producer, don't let him go. I want to just directly ask Jay. This question was directed at you. Did you hear it, Jay?
Yeah, I did, Mama V.
Okay, so Isaac, you can hang up now. Let's hear you address it.
The situation of the graduate students was heavily factored in the petition to government, and it was one of the things that received immediate response. Now, even beyond thesis defense, there was also the issue about data collection for graduate students and the timelines that they are supposed to meet for some of these things. It was agreed that no students from the graduate students fraternity is going to be penalized for failure to gather data. In fact, as at that time, lockdown was even in place, and so moving about was even a challenge. Beyond moving about, there's issues of social distance and other things that have to be observed. Then again, some institutions have resorted to the use of Zoom, which, from the minister's perspective, was allowed. And so what we understand is that, yes, there are going to be extensions for graduate students for them to be able to meet their timelines. Beyond extensions, students are not going to be penalized because there are some of the works of graduate students who come with charges.
But is there a direct response to the issue of online?
Yes, so the thesis defense, that's what I was saying, that Zoom is allowed at this stage. Where there are instances where there are challenges, that's where we can take it up.
Okay, so and this is KNUST inclusive?
But Zoom is allowed thesis defense. Aside that, like I said, that is why in the country we are going to move into some of the institutions, because some of the institutions are just failing to be reasonable.
Okay, I'll come to you.
Like with University of Education, and I'll have to mention this because the complete issue.
I'll come back to you so that you can hammer on that. Let me go to Stephen. Stephen is an MPhil student, also with the KNUST. Good morning, Stephen.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, sir. You're on air.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, Stephen. We can hear you. Please go on.
Yeah. I think the NUC president is doing well by just hitting on the internet challenges, that is the network challenges, and then others. But another factor I want to bring in is on the community library, because individuals might have it. But talking about the community libraries and e-centers within the various communities, I think that if they are to even make more of such things within district capitals and others, then students might resort to, especially those within the SHS and others, might resort to such facilities for academic work and others. And we at the tertiary level can also make proper use of such facilities for exams and others. So I think the outbreak of this particular pandemic must be a wake-up call to our leaders and others to focus on vital things which are more than necessary for education. All
right. Well said, Stephen. Thank you very much. Okay. Ganyu is at the UCC. Ganyu, you're on air. Yes, sir. Let's hear you.
Yeah. I want to thank you and thank your panelists. They are doing well, and the various universities as they've been able to roll out some of these programs for us. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I said I'm thanking you and the panelists for bringing out this program, and especially the universities for rolling out the e-learning platforms for us on the
Sure. So what's the arrangement with the UCC?
For me, I'm coming from the village in Upper West. Since I came, I've not been able to reach my WhatsApp message. So I've not taken part in any of that.
So hang on, you are a student of the University of Cape Coast. Because of the suspension of education, you went back to your hometown, Upper West.
Yes, I went back to my hometown, and since then I've not been able to go into the internet.
Oh, so you absolutely haven't received any kind of communication?
Zero. Because my place, there's no internet. The network there is not having internet service.
Okay, so but what have people told you, at least on the phone? What have they communicated to you?
I do call friends from campus who couldn't come home and they are still on campus. Yes. So what they told me is that they roll out some programs like the e-learning for them, and that they give them assignments and other things to submit. So some even disappointed, but me, who is still at the village, I couldn't have that chance to do it. So I'm still cut off.
Okay, wow, that's tragic. But I'm going to direct your concerns to the NUC's presidents. Princess, hello, Daniel.
Hello.
Go ahead. Hello, Ganyu, you had one more thing you wanted to say. Unfortunately, we lost you, Ganyu. Prince is with the Tamale Technical University. Prince, good morning. Hello, Prince.
Hello, I'm Prince. I'm calling from Tamale.
All right.
Student of Tamale Technical University.
Great. Share the plans on your campus with us.
Our campus, actually, the e-learning platform, something was not communicated to the entire student body. Our lecturers contacted us on a course base, and we are using Google Classroom and Zoom. But most of the time, not the reason here, our network is not good, and we have remote areas that are not even on network. So you find a class of about maybe 100 students, it's only 20 that are on the platform. And when the master come on Zoom to even lecture, you will find only 5-6 students in a classroom. And they are trying to give assignments, especially the Google Classroom, to assess us and other things. I think it's not at the right direction. I want management and the entire authority of the school to come or provide a platform that can benefit all students. If not so, using this e-learning platform to assess us will not be it will not be good to us.
Okay.
It will not serve the student purpose. I even suggested on our platform to the lecturers that at least they should make their handouts available to us. In my course now, we don't have even one handout that maybe if the lecturer is lecturing, that we can be using as a reference or a guide to read. So please, you, the journalists, should try and echo these things for us so that we, the student body too, can be relieved more. Thank you very much.
I hear you. I thank you, Prince. Asamoah is my last caller, and I'll take some WhatsApp messages before we wrap up. Asamoah is a student of the University of Education. Winneba, good morning to you, Asamoah.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Let's hear you.
It's concerning about the e-learning. The system is not at all.
Hello, Asamoah. You have to come again. I didn't quite get you.
I'm saying that concerning about the e-learning. As for ours, the system is not helping us at all.
The system is not helping you. Is it the same LMS situation in terms of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you are trying to upload image now, you can't even access it. This morning I've tried. I have an assignment that has been uploaded on the system.
Okay, but do you have a specific deadline when you have to present, within which you have to present the assignments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll try and get some answers, but thank you for sharing and raising it here. Let's take some WhatsApp messages. I'll come to you, gentlemen, for a reaction on Zoom, but here are some WhatsApp messages. Kobe Black is a student of the University of Education. Winneba says, this online learning has become a headache for most students across the country. There are some students who do not set their eyes on electricity after they have left the school. The next time to set their eyes on electricity is when they are back to school. As a matter of fact, we're suffering. That's coming from Kobe Black, who's a student of the University of Education, Winneba. Here's another one, says, I'm a student of the University of Energy and Natural Resources, and the e-learning platform created doesn't feature all the courses we offer normally, and the management is not informing us on any progress they're making. So the lecturers are creating WhatsApp groups and giving and submitting assignments, and others do this through Zoom, which consumes too much data, and some lecturers have created YouTube channels where they post materials for learning for not even half of the courses we offer. All right, so that's a real concern. PF Sapong is sending this WhatsApp message. I'll come to you for a quick reaction, and I'll wrap up with the rest of the messages on WhatsApp, as many as I can read. So first to you, Jay, specifically because you represent the entire student body in our country, there are some real concerns. If you look at Ganyu's concerns, where from the University of Cape Coast, he's back home and he can't get access to any online platform. So he doesn't even know what's going on campus, apart from what is communicated to him via telephone. There are some others who complain about the University of Education. You mentioned them in particular. What's the issue with the University of Education?
You see, the concerns with University of Education has to do with their LMS platform. I'm not a student of University of Education, so I cannot be speaking from my point of facts, but these are the reports that I have received from my students, and so it's necessary I quote referencing the students that have engaged us and our representatives.
Well, we've had a number of calls on the show, at least this morning, and I've read some messages.
Exactly, and there's a lot of congestion on the system, and I think the modules I've made available on the LMS is also very challenging. I think most of the schools, in actual fact, also have academic support systems where you can call in and put in your challenges and other things. The University of Education doesn't seem to have some of these things in place based on the information that we have. And I think that at this stage, there are some of the concerns that it is just not government that can give solutions to. We can only deal with them as much as institutions are willing to cooperate or actually admit that indeed we have some of these infrastructure challenges, and therefore we must put in place some other measures to deal with the challenges. But when everything is left on the student to make it look like, you know what, whether you like it or not, this is in place and so you have to go by it, then we are going to have a challenge with you. And so for University of Education and some of these institutions, as the report keep getting rampant, from next week we shall definitely going to take them on.
All right, let me get last comments from you. Let me start with you, Cornelius. We've seen the module from the University of Ghana. Isaac talks about sharing a lot of stuff with management even before they rolled out what they rolled out. What lessons are you learning from the other institutions? How do you think we can move forward?
First of all, I need to say that it's a commendable move by the management of University of Ghana, and then from what I'm gathering from UPSA, I think it's more of a progressive way to look at things. A student should not be disadvantaged and to the extent of deferral if they're unable to join in. So with what they have, at least once we are unable to join in or you are not able to fully join in with the online learning, there's a provision for you to at least have a top-up in 3 weeks and then you write your exam. I think that is a good way to go. We don't have that. But most importantly, this has been a lesson to all of us in terms of how we manage our country. Because you look at issues with internet connectivity and it's almost as if everything is centered in certain parts of Ghana, where you have a student who mentioned that he's gone back to the Upper East and he has these challenges with internet connectivity. So we also have situations where you have students in Gempa who are in Accra simply because they are here to learn. And so going all the way, they will be cut off. We should start considering some of these modalities that are put in place by the University of Ghana and maybe implement them where I find myself. But yeah.
I want to ask you,
I think we should.
I want to ask you just before you all go, have you considered the wearing of masks and going back to school? The last time the president spoke on Sunday, the schools have been suspended again for 2 weeks. But just in case this whole suspension is lifted or cancelled, have you guys thought about going to school in mask and social distancing and how this is going to work?
I think it to depend on the university in question. Because if you look at an institute like Gempa, you don't have many students in a classroom. But I'm sure in other traditional universities like the University of Ghana, and then they would have a lot of numbers as compared to an institute like ours. So with the social distancing, it made it very difficult. But
okay, Isaac, I think you're about saying something. To that.
I think it's not about what we think. Our president made us understand that any call to be made must be made based on expert advice, that is from the medical perspective. So if from the medical perspective, it would be right for students to proceed on such a road, of course, we would embrace it holistically. But since we are not experts, pronouncements in saying that students should wear masks.
No, Isaac, that wasn't the question. The question was, have you considered, in case there's the announcement that, you know, the suspension is no longer no longer exists, how would going to school look like?
Oh, okay. I think going to school wouldn't be the same. I mean, you would have people maintaining social distances, some of them being even extreme, because the virus will still be lingering around. It would then be dependent on the university as to the approach to take. But as it stands now, from where I sit and how things look, it might be a little bit of a challenge for academic work to assume normalcy, pending within the circumstance we find ourselves.
Okay, Joseph, let me come to you for your thoughts real quick.
Yeah, so I would say that I've really thought about that, but I'm looking at it from the aspect of time. Now, management has revised the calendar, provided modalities for exams and how to close the semester and all. So assuming social distancing is called off and we are supposed to go back to the classroom, it means that all these arrangements that have been made have to be scratched or reformulated into something else. So with regards to time, going back to school within this semester will be a Herculean task. But if it has to do with the next academic year, then fine. But go back to school this period would be very difficult, especially once to even find various means possible to partake in the exams and all.
All right. Jay, you've been talking to the presidents. You've been speaking to the ministry as well. So has this been considered?
Well, what I can say is that a number of considerations are on the table, including even looking at phases. For instance, having possibly final year students go and complete their semester, their final semester, and then subsequently having the others also follow. It must also be noted that during this period, we have a long vacation period of about 3 months, which can be phased into writing exams to ease the congestion. Because realistically, our campuses are congested. And for me, I agree with Isaac, it will be based on experts' advice. But looking at the issues critically, looking at the congestion on our campuses,
okay, so this again is the reality that we face. We can't have a full conversation with the system freezing on us. But largely, I think your submission, we understood what you said. So I want to say thank you to you, gentlemen, for making the time and joining us for this very important conversation. Really appreciate it. NUC's President Isaac J. Hyde, Isaac Ajimani, SRC President, University of Ghana, Joseph Agbazuka, SRC President, the Ghana Institute of Journalism, Cornelius Bratting, LSE President, GEMPA. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for all the messages, lots of messages that we've received that unfortunately I can't share all. This one says, I think the College of Education are being left out. George in Kwewu. There are concerns also of those in the nursing institutions as well. So there will be a follow-up conversation on the back of what we've just had, noting all the concerns that you've sent through. We thank you so much for joining us. Stay with us when we come back. Adonko Group donates to health and other facilities to help fight COVID-19. Details on our show.